Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of this video series. In part 2 of this video series, I discussed about the configuration of an iSCSI target server and created few iSCSI disks to map them as clustered shared volumes onto Hyper-V hosts. I also discussed about how iSCSI initiators on Hyper-V hosts are configured to connect to the iSCSI targets to access the iSCSI disks and how those iSCSI disks need to be formatted for using them in failover cluster. In the last part of this video series, I will discuss about deploying the Hyper-V role and failover cluster feature onto the Hyper-V hosts, as well as creating the failover cluster. I will also discuss about configuring the cluster networks, storage, and the quorum using failover cluster manager MMC Snapin. The first step of the deployment is to prep the Hyper-V failover cluster nodes, node 01 and node 02. First, we will install the Hyper-V role and failover cluster feature on these cluster nodes by running the PowerShell commandlet from my admin desktop. So I will open the PowerShell window. To run this commandlet, you need to have appropriate administrative credentials on the Hyper-V hosts. This commandlet will also install all the sub features and the management tools of the Hyper-V role and failover cluster feature. Okay, I will press enter and you can see it has started the installation. After running this command on the cluster nodes, just ensure that the success is showing as true for both the cluster nodes, node 01 and node 02. And soon after the installation of Hyper-V role, the cluster nodes would be rebooted. Okay, I will wait for the cluster nodes to come back up. Let me see if the cluster node is back up. Yep, so the ping succeeds on node 01 and ping succeeds on node 02 as well. So let me log into cluster node 01 and 02. Okay, you can see the Hyper-V role has been installed on both node 01 and node 02. Let me minimize the RDP session on node 01 and back into my admin desktop. And the next step would be to validate the cluster nodes before the failover cluster is created. And pre-validation of failover cluster nodes can be performed using the failover cluster MMC snap-in, which would be available in the cluster nodes. However, it can be performed using PowerShell as well via the commandlet test cluster. So I'm going to run this PowerShell commandlet to test and validate the cluster nodes for any errors with respect to storage, network, inventory, system configuration, and Hyper-V configuration. Now it is important that pre-validation tests are successful for all the tests. Otherwise, you will not get the required support from Microsoft if the pre-validation test fails. So let me specify the nodes, node 01, node 02, and you can use the verbose switch which provides the verbose output. So let me press enter. You can see the test as started. Okay, you can see the test as completed, but it says that there are some warnings in the report. And if you take a look at the verbose output, one of the tests, which is to check whether the software update levels are same as reported warning, And this should be fine for a lab environment, but in a production environment, you have to make sure that your cluster nodes have same software update levels. And after the test has completed, the HTML format of the test results would usually be saved in temp folder of the logged in user profile. And here is the file name and the file path. And regarding the test results of all the other tests, you can see in the verbose output the test results for all the other tests have passed except for the software update levels, which should be fine. But let me open the HTML file and look at the test results. And here is the HTML file. And if I open it, you can see all the tests have succeeded except for the system configuration where the software update levels of both cluster nodes are not same. Now, after making sure that the failover cluster validation reports shows success for all the tests performed on both the cluster nodes, it is time to create the failover cluster using the Hyper-V nodes. In my case, it's okay. It failed on software update levels, but I'll still be able to create a failover cluster. So let me close this out and back into PowerShell. Now the failover cluster can be created using the failover cluster manager MMC Snapin, which would be available on the cluster node, but it can also be created using this PowerShell commandlet. So we run this PowerShell commandlet against the two cluster nodes, node 01 and node 02, to create a Hyper-V failover cluster with the name Hyper-V cluster, and the management IP address for the failover cluster is 192.168.10.23, and this IP address and the host name of the failover cluster can be used to manage the cluster. Let me press enter. All right, the failover cluster has been created. Now, since the above command creates a cluster name object, which is the computer account for the failover cluster in Active Directory, as well as a DNS entry, a record, as well as PTR record, the user running this command must be a domain administrator. If the user is not a domain administrator, then the computer account and the DNS entries must be pre-staged before creating the failover cluster. And that's it, the failover cluster is created. So let me log into one of the nodes. And if I open the failover cluster manager MMC Snapin, I can see the failover cluster Hyper-V cluster created with two cluster nodes, node 01 and node 02, which are showing the up status. Now that the failover cluster is created, it is a good practice to rename the different cluster networks found in the failover cluster manager MMC Snapin. I have already opened the failover cluster manager MMC Snapin in one of the cluster nodes. And if I expand the failover cluster on the left side and click networks, you can see the MMC Snapin will simply list the cluster networks as cluster network 1, cluster network 2, cluster network 3, and so on. It will also list the cluster use of these cluster networks such as cluster only, cluster and client, and none. If I click on each cluster network and clicking the network connections shows the network adapters being used. Now, based on the network adapters, you can simply rename the cluster networks. So if I click on cluster network 1, you can see the management network adapters of all cluster nodes. Hence, I'm going to rename this cluster network 1 to something more meaningful. So to rename the cluster network, you simply right click on it and go into properties. And I am going to rename this as 01 mgmt underscore network hyphen dc01. So let me do the same thing for all the other cluster networks. All right, this is done. back to the property window of a cluster network, there are three options that can be selected. Allow cluster network communication on this network. Under that, you have allow clients to connect through this network and do not allow network communication on this network. If you select allow cluster network communication on this network, then it ensures that the network adapters under a specific cluster network will be used for any cluster communication. Now, selecting this option will use the network adapters for cluster communication only. Now, this option must be selected for management network, heartbeat network, live migration network, CSV IO redirection network, and Hyper-V replica network. Now, selecting the checkbox allow client to connect through this network on a cluster network will allow the management of the cluster. This option must be selected for management network only. And you also have do not allow cluster network communication on this network. Selecting this option, do not allow cluster network communication on this network, ensures that the network adapters under a specific cluster network will not be used for any cluster communication. This setting must be selected for iSCSI network and virtual machine networks. So let me set the cluster use appropriately for each of these cluster networks. So for management network, I'll go into properties and it is already set to allow cluster network communication on this network. And it also has allow clients to connect through this network, which is good. So this is cluster and client. So the management network should be cluster and client under client use. And coming back to heartbeat, so let me open the properties. So only the cluster network communication should be selected, and you should not select allow clients to connect through this network. And I'll click OK. So for heartbeat network and for live migration network and CSV IO redirection network, Hyper-V replica network, they should be listed as cluster only under cluster use. And iSCSI network as well as VM network should be listed as none. So if I open the properties of iSCSI network, we have selected do not allow cluster network communication on this network, which is a correct setting for this network. So I'm going to click OK. And for VM network, it should not be used for cluster communication. So I should select do not allow cluster network communication on this network. I'll click apply and click OK. So we have both iSCSI network as well as VM network listed as none under cluster use. So again, management network should be for cluster as well as client. Heartbeat network should be cluster only. iSCSI network should be none. CSV IO redirection network should be cluster only. Live migration network should be cluster only. Hyper-V replica network should also be cluster only. And VM network should not be used for any cluster communication. I'm still in the Failover Cluster Manager MMC Snap-in and clicking the disks under storage would show the cluster disks which are presented to the Hyper-V cluster nodes. In this example, two cluster disks which are shared iSCSI disks have been presented to the Hyper-V nodes, cluster disk 1 and cluster disk 2. Cluster disk 1 of 10 GB is already being used as a quorum disk. This can be verified under assigned to column where the cluster disk 1 is listed as disk witness quorum, and cluster disk 2 of size 200 GB is listed as available storage, which will be later used for cluster shared volume. Now, the ownership of both the cluster disks are currently held by cluster node 01. Now, it is always a good idea. Now, it is a recommended practice to rename these cluster disks into something more meaningful. In my case, I will call cluster disk 1 as the quorum disk. So I'll right click on this and click on properties, and I'll name this as quorum disk. Click OK. and cluster disk 2 as CSV1 and click on OK. All right. And clicking on Hyper-V cluster on the left side, you can see the current host server is node 01. After the failover cluster is deployed, it is recommended to check the quorum configuration of the failover cluster to ensure that there is no configuration issues with the quorum. So let's see how to verify and configure the quorum configuration in failover cluster manager. I am still logged into one of the cluster node and I still have failover cluster manager MMC Snapin. I will right click on the failover cluster and navigate to more actions, and I'll click on configure cluster quorum settings. I will click next on the before you begin screen. In the select quorum configuration option screen, there are three options that are available. Use default quorum configuration, select the quorum witness, advanced quorum configuration. Selecting the option use default quorum configuration and clicking next would allow the cluster to automatically select the best quorum configuration that provides the highest availability for the failover cluster. Now, Microsoft recommends to use this option since it will automatically select the best quorum configuration when the nodes are either added or removed. And in this lab example, you can see cluster disk 1, which is listed as quorum disk of size 10 GB, has been selected as the disk witness, and all the nodes are configured to have quorum votes. And this configuration is node majority and witness disk, which is configured automatically by the failover cluster. Now, clicking back and selecting the option select the quorum witness would allow the administrator to add or change the quorum witness, which can be a disk witness or a file share witness or cloud witness. And you also have an option which says do not configure a quorum witness. Now, using this option would also allow the administrator to not to configure the quorum witness for the failover cluster. Now, selecting the first option, configure a disk witness, and clicking next would allow the administrator to select a cluster disk meant for quorum purpose. In this lab example, the administrator can select the quorum disk of 10 GB in size, which can be used for disk witness. And in my case, it is already selected. In fact, any cluster disk can be selected as a quorum disk. However, it is recommended to select a smallest size cluster disk of 1 to 10 GB in size as a quorum disk. I will click back and I'll select the second option, configure a file share witness. Clicking next would allow the administrator to select a file share that will be used by the file share witness resource. This file share must not be hosted as a resource in the same cluster. However, it can be made available by hosting it as a resource on another failover cluster. I will click back and select the third option, configure a cloud witness, and I'll click next. Now, this would allow the administrator to create a cloud witness in Microsoft Azure by specifying the Azure Storage Account name, Azure Storage Account key, and Azure Service Endpoint. I will click back and select Do not configure a quorum witness, and I'll click Next. If you select do not configure a quorum witness, it will not configure any quorum witness such as disk witness, file share witness, or cloud witness for the failover cluster. And you can see here no witness configured. Now, this option is recommended for odd number of cluster nodes in a failover cluster and when there is no quorum witness available or required for quorum configuration. This type of quorum configuration is node majority, no witness. If there is an even number of voting nodes in the failover cluster, this may not be recommended configuration. Clicking back twice, the final option under select quorum configuration option is advanced quorum configuration. Now, by default, all cluster nodes in a failover cluster are assigned votes. However, there would be certain disaster recovery configuration where you need to remove votes from the nodes in a backup site. So selecting the advanced quorum configuration option and clicking next would allow the administrator to select the nodes to add or remove them from voting, and also to configure the quorum witness appropriately. Now, this type of advanced configuration is recommended only for manual failover across sites. Using this option, administrator can change the quorum configuration to either node majority, no witness, node majority with witness. It can be a disk witness, file share witness, or a cloud witness, or no majority where it is only disk witness. Now, in select voting configuration screen, if administrator selects even number of nodes, so we have two nodes, so this is even number of nodes. And if I click next, and if I select the first three option, configure a disk witness, file share witness, and cloud witness, then the quorum configuration would be of type node majority with witness disk, or file share witness, or cloud witness. Now, if I go back and select the odd number of nodes, let's say I have three nodes, and if I don't configure, let's say I have three nodes and I've selected three nodes, and I click next, and if I do not configure a quorum witness, then the quorum configuration would be of type node majority, no witness. And if I click back, and if I select no nodes option where no nodes would be configured in voting, then a disk witness must be configured. So if I click next, so it will ask for a disk witness, and I can select the quorum disk, which is meant for disk witness only. This type of quorum configuration would be no majority, disk witness only. Now, if this option is selected, then the cluster will stop running if this quorum disk or the disk witness fails. So this is generally not recommended because it does not allow nodes to participate in quorum voting, and it requires configuring a disk witness where the disk witness becomes a single point of failure for the cluster. In my case, for this demo lab setup, I would allow the configure cluster quorum wizard to use the default quorum configuration. So I'll click this and I'll click next. In the confirmation screen, you can see the quorum disk has been configured as the disk witness, and all nodes are configured to have quorum votes. So I will click next, and it says that I've successfully configured the quorum settings for the cluster, and I'll click finish. All right, this concludes the step-by-step instructions for configuring the quorum settings of a failover cluster. And this also concludes the last part of this video series. I hope this video series about deploying a Hyper-V failover cluster has been helpful to you, and I'll mention the blog post URLs for this video series in the description below. And I thank you all for watching this video.